On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we're going to be talking about some really cool updates from Terry Matalas, some fan feedback, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about Picard 207, Monsters, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen on the continuing Star Trek conversation the two lifelong friends have been having since they were 6 years old. My name's Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
How's it going, Dave?
Oh, you know, just a little fun before the show.
A little pre-show humor that...
Mid-show, if we could ever get the show off the ground.
Okay, yeah, we had a little technical issues, but we're back. We're here. We're doing it. We're recording.
We are.
You said there was some news you wanted to hit before we get into 207.
Yes, there is, and it's more exciting than anything that happened in 207.
See, now we're going to have one of those disagreeable weeks, because I think...
Oh, no.
I loved this. I love this episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
way
wow.
more than I liked last week.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm about the same.
I hear you. I think there's a few key things that made this episode, especially because last week hit me on a low. And then they set us up for now let's have an Inside the Mind episode. I was very ready to be disappointed, and I was not disappointed. It exceeded expectations.
I think it may have been a little better for me than last week, but anyway. Terry Matalas, showrunner. He's been talking a lot, answering questions on Twitter. And I just wanted to go over some of this really cool stuff. Did we talk about the big announcement that the TNG cast was coming back in season 3?
We did. Yeah, we talked about that last week.
So most of this has to do with that, but someone asked him, Toby Shandor asked him on Twitter, if given free reign to create and run a new Star Trek show or limited series, what would it be? And Terry Matalas says, watch season 3. And then he also says, for those who are asking, no, these are not just cameos. This is a proper send-off to the TNG crew. It's been a labor of love for so long. I hope you like what we've cooked up. And yes, Federation starships galore. So that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's rad.
Now, this was a little... I kind of feel like it's telling. They said, how did the team pull off writing these two seasons back to back? And Terry Matalas says, it was tricky. I had to split off about midway through season 2. My partner, Akiva Goldsman, brilliantly captained the rest of it while I dug into season 3. It's about the halfway point where we're now going,
Yep, episode 6 was where we were like, oof, that was a rough one. Yeah, you're right. Maybe he's more important to the helming the ship than we thought.
Yeah, Terry, or someone asked, is Worf going to look like a Discovery Klingon? And Terry says, Worf looks like Worf. And then someone else said, but is he still not a merry man? And Terry said, Worf is not merry. Wordy Blurred asked, since Worf is a hot topic, I'll ask, is this a Star Trek Nemesis / TNG factory reset Worf, or will his DS9 years of character development, including being Klingon Chancellor for 5 minutes before being made the ambassador, be considered part of his backstory? And Matalas said, I would love to answer this, but not yet. Michael Dorn and I spoke at length about where we thought he might be after DS9 and the Dominion War. I love what he's doing. Hope you do too. And Matalas is a big DS9 fan, so I have no doubt that he'll include DS9's backstory there too.
Yeah, I would hope not, that he wouldn't just erase that. That'd be insane.
Yeah.
If you're a DS9
Well, they tried
fan.
to in Nemesis.
Well, they at least tried to ignore it,
ignore it, yeah.
Well, we just want the TNG fans to be able to watch this. And I just don't even understand that. If you come back after years of being away from the TNG crew, and then you find out that Worf has been exploring his roots and working with the Klingons, even if it's just a throwaway line where he shows up in Klingon garb and he's like, I'm the ambassador to the Federation now. It would be just a throwaway line would fix that. And it would be a badass thing, even if you never saw a minute of DS9,
Yep.
What the hell, Nemesis?
Ben Miller asks, do we get to hear how Earth / Starfleet / the Federation coped after the Dominion War? And Terry Metalis responded with that little gif of Leonardo DiCaprio doing his little wavy hand, like, maybe, yeah, a little bit. They asked, William Morgan asked, I got emotional with this news. I never thought I'd see Beverly back on screen again. And Metalis says, oh, you're going to see Beverly, all right. You're not ready.
I just can't help like knowing that she's his romantic interest, and like,
or was back in the day,
there might be romance between them.
Yeah.
And him being like, oh, you're gonna see Beverly, all right. And I'm like, what are they gonna do to them? What kind of scene are they shooting?
I think there was a parody made like that a few years ago.
Oh, there's a number of them.
Yeah. Glenn Rubenstein on Twitter says, but where's Wesley? And Metalis says, where is he? That kooky traveler. Now, Will Wheaton did say, like, you know, I'm excited to be watching my family on Star Trek again, blah, blah, blah. I think they're holding them back. I think Wesley's going to be involved, personally.
Yeah, I think it'd be surprising if he didn't show up in at least one episode.
Yeah. X24 Ever says, hoping for some other series cameos, and Terry Metalis responded with a gif going, maybe.
Nice.
So that's exciting. And we know, like, a while back they asked if there was going to be more DS9 stuff coming, and he said, watch season 3 of Picard. So that was a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And that's what I've got on Metalis, given some little leaks and stuff for season 3, and that just amps me up for season 3 a whole lot. And this might actually excite you. Michelle Yeoh was talking to Entertainment Weekly, and she described Section 31 as Star Trek universe but different. It's like Mission Impossible meets Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh. I'm down. I'm very down for that. I love both of those franchises.
I figured you would be. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, anyway, we can get into the show now. We can get into the proper review.
Sure, man. It's Picard 207. Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But who's the monster, man? Who's the monster?
I don't know, man. There's still more to the story.
Right? Like, honestly, there were a couple things that surprised me about that. First off, let me see what I loved about this episode. And I'm surprised that it didn't hit you in the soul the way it hit me. And that is like that we got out of the head. I liked the stuff in the head was fine, but it definitely would have annoyed me if it was all that we got this episode.
Yeah.
If he had woken up at the end of the episode and gone like, we have to go see Guinan, I would have been super annoyed. But the fact that we saw an entire segment of the show, like a fourth of the show, was him meeting up with Guinan again, and them trying to summon a Q, and her taking on the same stance she did.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was so much fun. When she saw Q in in the first Borg episode. Like I am so freaking down. Like we've been talking about how badly we want that interaction, and I think this is showing that they haven't forgotten. The writers have not forgotten about that. I mean, literally, she does the same, hand motion that when she tries to summon the Q. I was like,
that was exciting, and I totally thought but it was kind of blunted for me with the like. Or stunted, I guess, because I thought the FBI guy was going to wind up being a Q.
Me too.
And they were totally red herringed me. And then I'm like, oh, now we got to deal with a whole bullshit thing where they're talking to the feds.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that.
Not only that, like the feds now know that he can
like save the cat shit.
Yeah, well, it's more like just throwing up obstacles in their way that don't really need to be there.
Yeah. Save the cat.
I mean, I don't want to argue about the semantics of that term, but like, yeah, I Save the Cat's more about like establishing the goodness of the character by having them do a small good deed. This is more like throwing up bullshit obstacles to make you have to accomplish them that are kind of useless to the overall character or plot of the thing. Yeah,
we probably don't need to get into that argument, but but yeah, it's just very like, okay.
Yeah, it just feels like they're going to waste time with this. And I'm like, there's just so much to do. There's so much to do in this season. And you're going to add an FBI agent plot. Unless, but I don't see why it would be, this is the Q.
Right.
Like this could be the Q that she had a meeting with that time, coming in with fake Q summoned FBI agents to bring them off and like interrogate them in the next episode before he like says, "Okay, I see what you're doing." You know, like,
yeah.
And then the Q admits that he's got John Delancey's Q on trial, which is what I want.
That would be interesting. I did think it was interesting, like Picard's whole like, you know, he's desperate for me to understand him thing. Yes. You know, like I enjoyed all of that. Like I liked it more than I did last week for sure. It was also boring. Like a lot of the head stuff was boring to me.
A couple things in the head stuff that I liked and that surprised me. The inside Picard's head stuff was very much what I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so it just didn't, until we find out that the father wasn't really that abusive.
Well, we don't know. There's more to the story.
Agreed. But it looks like the more to the story, the thing that he came to terms with in this episode was that his father wasn't the monster he thought he was, that he never really knew his father. And that is a big moment for him because he has been scared of, I think, this is my interpretation of these actions, that he's been pushing people away his whole life because he's scared of being his father.
Mm-hmm.
And like scared of being the monster that his father was. But now he knows the real reason his father was trying to like in this episode, he shows the father like grabbing the mother and manhandling her. And he's been interpreting that his whole life as his father abusing her. But he was actually trying to save the children because his mother was about to take them in a cave and get them killed because she had her mental problems.
One child.
Okay. It was one of the children.
Robert is nowhere to be found here.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I thought there were different moments where I thought Robert was there, and I was like, "Is that Robert? Or is that anyway?"
Yeah. No, this is a perfect time for me to bring up. Stu Little sent in some feedback and just said the lack of young Robert in this Picard flashback dreams whatever seems like a missed opportunity to me. Well, I mean, it's not important for Patrick to play out his shell-shock daddy issues, so.
They just didn't include it.
They just didn't include it. Like he's like, no, this is about me and my mother.
Well, see, and that's the thing that he is trying to do is that, and this is probably something that Patrick Stewart's learned in his life, is that like his father did some things that really hurt him as a child, but like his father is just a dude. And like, we're all just dudes trying to do our best. And it's some things that happen to us that we can't avoid. And we end up scarring the people around us or hurting those around us.
Absolutely.
It's an important message. It's cool.
Stewart spoke about this several, or 2 or 3 years ago, I guess, maybe several years ago. And that was something he imbued within Picard's character back on TNG, was that his dad was an abusive piece of shit. And Robert was not much better. And then now, or several years after that, he found out his dad was suffering from PTSD.
Yeah.
They just didn't call it that back then.
Yeah.
So like suddenly he's like looking at his dad from a different perspective, and I guess he's trying to like update the characters for this, which is fine. It's, you know,
yeah,
I don't have any issue with it. Robert was older than Picard, so he could have been, you know, off at school or some shit. You know?
It's interesting what they're doing here. They're playing at mental illness. But like they're not taking it directly from his history, because it's not like his father had PTSD. The mental illness, the monster that they're running from, you know, his father says the monster was real. It just wasn't me, you know, like the monster that she was running from was real. It was her mental illness. And she needed to go get help. And so you know, the monster dragging her away earlier, you know, in the season, that's her mental illness dragging her away from the family.
Yeah.
I think. And it looks like the part of the story we didn't see is that maybe she got away because it looked like, at least in this part of the story, in this interpretation of the story that's going through Picard's head, that he threw his mother in a room and locked her in there. Maybe he called the authorities. Maybe he was trying to get her, you know, put somewhere to get some help. And it looks like Picard comes around and unlocks the door. And like, maybe he chooses his mother's side and kind of lets the monster get her, lets the monster get away with her, you know?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what that would mean. I really hope they don't kill her, because we did have those like visions from TNG of her as being an older woman. So
yeah, well, what I meant was what I mean by it is like maybe she goes on the run. She doesn't get the help she needs. Sometimes people with mental illness end up, and I mean, this is the future of Starfleet, and hopefully they would have a better system. They normally do, especially on Earth. But like, you know, people with mental illness end up, you know, off doing whatever they do, like drugs, homelessness, all this stuff, because they have an untreated mental illness, you know? And if she like gets away from being treated and like blames it on her husband's abuse and says, I'm not mentally, you know, maybe it took her years to get the help she needed. And, you know, like, who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I am curious to see what the rest of the story is.
Yeah.
Are you annoyed that Doctor Who lady is actually a Romulan and one of Laris's ancestors?
So I'm
ancestors, not incestors. That's weird. Slip of the tongue. A bearer of the soul.
I'm going to avoid a slip of the tongue incest joke.
No, man, let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Okay. Where were we?
Incest.
Am I annoyed at the incest on this show? Oh, sorry. Okay. I guess I'm not particularly annoyed. I think they would have had to explain it somehow why she looks just like Laris. I feel like.
Well, I mean, the original had a freaking shapeshifter sidekick as a cat.
True.
Who would turn into a woman. They could do whatever the hell they wanted.
Yes, but I think it makes sense. It makes sense that she would be an ancestor and be a Romulan. Like, that makes probably more sense than her just looking just like Laris for no reason. So I'm fine with it, I guess. I don't know. I think the mystery was interesting prior to this. So I guess there's that little bit of interest lost. Like, that mystery's gone.
Yeah, I just thought it was a dumb explanation for what could have been really interesting.
Right. It also kind of annoys me from a, like, you have 3 actors in this show playing ancestors of their other versions, and that is a little annoying to me. Like, because it just feels like they wanted to use the same actors, which is like, I mean, it's established Star Trek stuff. You know, Kirk played his brother or whatever. You know, like
his dead brother who had a mustache, who was like laying on the ground for 3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, great Kirk line this episode. I'm from, and I forget where Rios is from. I'm from wherever, but I work in space. I loved it. There's a lot of little stuff I really liked in this episode, and I really had after last week's debacle, and then seeing that this one was going to be an inside. I was just like, yeah, I'm just ready for this to be a throwaway episode. I was just fully ready to, like, okay, let's get through 7 so we can get to these last few finale episodes. And, you know, there were just a lot of really good little surprises in there for me.
Yeah. I don't feel like the whole, like, ancestor looks exactly like the person we know thing is really that common. It's really just Data for the most part. And that one thing of Kirk. Like, it really is just Data.
Yeah, but what about William and Thomas Riker?
That was a transporter twins situation. You can't just bring that shit up. They're the same man.
That's like the nerdiest joke. Sometimes I love doing this show with you, and I love just having this excuse to talk Star Trek every week, because there's just so many like little niche jokes that like only people who are listening to a Star Trek podcast would get. Like the fact that, like, you know that I'm trolling you by saying what about these 2 characters, and you're like, fuck you, and everyone's like, fuck you, Matt. Fuck your trolling ass.
I can't remember the name of the episode right now because I'm just not there in my brain. But there's like a season 1, I think, episode of TNG where they find out that they've been these people have been cloning them without their permission, and it's like one of the more kind of brutal things that you just like, ooh, that doesn't feel like Starfleet. It's just like Riker leads an away team and just like busts into the lab and just starts like phasering all of their clones and killing them. they're not like awake clones, but they're just like in these little like beds.
Yeah, that's weird.
So he's just like running around like that. And I'm just like, ooh, this is weirdly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like sometimes Star Trek just forgets the assignment. You know, like seek out new life and destroy it.
And so when I was like doing like my first rewatches so many years back in like 2011 or whatever it was, I watched that episode, and a few weeks later I got to Second Chance, and he meets his clone, and I went, uh-oh. We know how Riker feels. We know how Riker feels about clones.
He finds that disheveled Thomas Riker on the base, and he's just like, set phasers to kill everyone. And they're like, what are you talking about?
There can only be one.
And like he kills that Riker, and lightning just enters him from every direction.
And then it becomes Jet Li's the one.
Yes.
And his beard grows a little bigger with every Riker duplicate he kills.
Dude, have you seen the trailer for Everything All at Once or whatever? Everything All the Time All at Once or whatever it is called?
Yes, I know what you're talking about with Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it and I want to see it.
I just saw the trailer. I don't know how this escaped me. I have a really weird relationship with the Daniels who directed that movie. They call them Daniels. They're two guys named Daniel who directed that movie. I followed their music video career for years. That's weird. They made really good music videos that I really loved, and I was always kind of watching out for them, like, those guys are going to do cool stuff. And then they did Swiss Army Man, which, even though I freaking loved all their music video stuff, I still haven't seen because I'm an asshole. Like, I followed them for years, watching every music video, and they put out a feature film, and I just didn't see it. Still, to this day, I should see it. Anyway, I guess it just didn't interest me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I just love their directing, and now they made this, and I saw that trailer, and this is so up my alley. I'm just so down for it. Multiverse. Just looks amazing. Multiverse, super fantastical, super creative. Like, it just looks really, really good.
Yeah, it does look really cool. And it's had fantastic reviews.
Yeah, a few people, someone in the Stranded Panda community posted today, he's like, has anybody else seen this movie yet? I watched it last night and I cannot stop thinking about it. I think it might be my favorite movie of all time. And I was just like, I mean, I love that feeling, that feeling of just like, oh, it's something that just blows your mind. I cannot wait. I'm totally going to see it. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you know how hard it was to like listen to you just now after you said, I've been watching out for them. All I could think of and focus on in my brain was this image of you like moving ladders out of their path, like sweeping Legos out of their carpet, like just as they're about to walk onto it, just like it's like sweet, like Popeye trying to like help out Sweet Pea.
Yeah, man. No, I'm their supervisor. I work with Laris's ancestor.
Yeah, paint cans are like swinging towards them, and you're like hurry up and running and stopping them before they hit them in the head.
Yeah, man. I am Gary 7.
I haven't had time to watch their effing movie, dude. I've been trying to make sure they don't die.
Everything All the Time All at Once is what it's called, and I am really, really excited about it. May go see it.
It looks great
this weekend. It really does. Okay, sorry. Back on track.
No, you're good.
Back to Star Trek.
Tangentially Star Trek related. Multiverse, Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, Multiverse, Michelle Yeoh.
We're good.
The Daniels.
The Daniels. Instant Daniels.
Yeah, see, there's lots of Daniels in Star Trek.
Yeah.
But we were talking about whether it annoyed me about the Laris thing. I think it annoys me for that reason only. Like the fact, like you said, it is a well-worn trope that Brent Spiner plays all the Soongs, and now apparently Soji is also going to play all of the female Soongs.
And apparently Jeffrey Combs is just a very dominant trait throughout species seeded by the preservers.
Right. Well, that's more like character actor disappearing, but yes, like the whole ancestor thing is funny. It's funny to do with Data, and it's funny to do with all the Soongs, but like, I guess the fact that they've got it happening with 3 actors in this very small story, it makes it feel like they just had to include every actor who was in season 1, and they just like
contractually.
Yeah. It feels like they're just like, well, I mean, we got to use Brent Spiner and the girl who plays Soji, and It just feels weird.
Have you seen the little online memes about how this little joke bullshit, but it's like Brent Spiner and Jeffrey Combs having a war to see who will play the most characters in Star Trek?
I have not. That's funny. I don't know. I don't know who will get there. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Depends.
I feel like Jeffrey Combs has got him right now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably.
By a few, I think. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I think he still has him by a couple at least. Which, by the way, huge oversight. Why have we not had Jeffrey Combs at all except for one voiceover situation on Lower Decks? Like, yeah. I need Jeffrey Combs in Discovery. I need Jeffrey Combs in Picard. I need him in all the things. Prodigy.
Absolutely. He really is a great actor on top of just being like someone that we really like from that show. Like he's killer. He's not someone who couldn't fit into the new generation of Trek, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like the new generation of Trek versus like sort of the next generation era, there is a bit of, I think there's a campiness that is more an artifact of the time than it is the people who are involved. Like it's just an artifact of like how many scripts they were making a year and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's just when you're doing 22 episodes, sometimes you just get like, you're not fully invested in every one of those. You know what I mean? And sometimes the actors just kind of phone it in, and sometimes it's a little mechanical because the throughput is insane. But then you have some episodes where they really put in the effort. I feel like with this new era, they're really trying to pare it down and make it more higher quality acting and directing throughout the seasons. But Jeffrey Combs is not one that I wouldn't trust with this material, you know?
Yeah, no. Man, Strange New Worlds. I better see an elderly Shran.
Ooh, yes.
I want elderly Shran calling Pike Pinkskin.
Yeah. Oh, that would be
still hasn't
freaking
grown.
Awesome. That would be freaking awesome. Well, I love it. I really liked this episode. I did. I partially because of the low expectations, sure, but like I did like it. Thought it was cool.
Yeah. I always get a little weird when it's like, we're going to walk around in this guy's head. And it's just like, why would she see the exact same thing he's seeing? What exactly is... It's just weird. It's just strange to me. It never makes a lot of sense.
Right. You just you chop it up to the sci-fi tech on her ear. You know, she's just like, whatever that is allows her to interpret what he sees and all that stuff.
Did you notice that it was shaped like a Romulan ear?
Yes, right away. And I was like, wait. And then at the end of the episode, you find out she's Romulan. Like, oh, there you go.
Wait a minute. Bastards, what are you doing? Oh.
I was like, wait, are they saying that like the people that grabbed Gary Seven and made him a supervisor, were they Vulcans? Like, that's kind of what I was like.
That'd be cool. That'd be like a really cool, like, secret thing that the Vulcans had been doing for years that no one knew about. Like,
absolutely.
Even like Sarek in the Science Academy didn't know. Like,
yeah, for sure. Especially like when you have the Enterprise attitudes toward the Vulcans where you're like, yeah, stay away from us, like we can do our own thing, and then the secret like cabal of Vulcans is like, they would have blown themselves up years ago without us. we have been shepherding them to this moment.
What do you call yourselves? We call ourselves Segment 31.
What's a section but outside of a thing, right? Like a section is inside. What's an outer section? It's like a outcropping 31. Fingerlings 31. I don't know, man.
Ew, that sounds gross.
It does.
Fingerlings. So
like fingers stretching across the galaxy. Their tendrils are everywhere. Tendril 31.
Potato 31. Their eyes are everywhere.
That's good. I like it. Potato 31 it is. What's the Vulcan word for potato?
Ta-uber.
Uber. I don't know if we're gonna get better than that. I think that's it for this week.
Well, I do have a little bit of feedback.
Yes.
If you want to talk about that,
please.
You sure? You sure? Please don't hate me.
Of course not. I love das feedback.
Michael Serino writes to us, says, "Hey all, I was listening to you guys talk about the issue with the interaction on the bus being possibly affected by the previous encounter with Kirk and Spock. I have some thoughts. The reason the punk guy acts differently may still be because of the interaction with Kirk and Spock. Remember, Q has not changed the future yet. So at this point in time, Spock has already death gripped him once in the past. If Q makes his change, it will spawn a new timeline off from that point, just like they said in Avengers Endgame. Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit. Thanks for all the content you guys make." Well, Terry Metalis says that the reason Guinan doesn't remember Picard is because this is the past of the future, of the alternate future. So Picard then never went back in time and met her in the Mark Twain era, in Time's Arrow. So
yeah, if you're already saying this is the past of that future, like you're already into some paradox shit. Like there's just no way to, because you can't have the past of a certain future without having that future be presumed. So anything they've changed, you know what I mean? Like it's, but I hear what he's saying, but I do think that there's clearly an inconsistency between the Guinan thing and the guy on the bus thing.
Well, not necessarily. There is, there's no reason that, I mean, if the whales were killed in the early 21st century.
Right. A version of Spock didn't make it to that bus anyway.
Right. Those whales, or those aliens that were talking to the whales, would still come and mess with Earth. It could just be that the Confederation sent Kirk and Spock, or they went back in time anyway. And maybe instead of like doing a, nice go to sleep pinch like Spock did in Star Trek 4, maybe Kirk just walked up and like chopped him in the neck.
Right. Maybe he's even more scarred than prior versions.
There's that. And we've got one from Tim Castillo. Tim says, Dave, I totally agree with you. Thanks, Tim. I watched this episode last year and looked it up at the time. He's talking about Assignment Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up at the time because it felt like a backdoor pilot, and it was. It was totally supposed to be an entire spinoff. Gary Seven and Roberta Lincoln and Isis, who obviously becomes Selena's cat later on. Oh, man, very exciting. Seeing all these throwbacks, I really hope that at some point they bring back these slug aliens from TNG that nearly took over all of Starfleet Command. Yeah, dude, me too. Do you remember this from TNG?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this feedback last week?
Maybe.
I think we did. I think we did this feedback last week because I remember us talking about the slug aliens after that and how they were the original Borg and stuff.
And he says he doesn't care if it's a joke in Lower Decks?
Yeah. We talked about that last week.
Okay. Well, you got it said twice, Tim. Good on you. You tricked an old man.
He tricked the system.
Well, there was like a MCU cast that I did with you, and then and you were on like painkillers or something for a tooth or for something. And we did a whole bunch of feedback, and then like Bethany was listening to the next week's episode, and I heard it, and I was like, he's reading all of that same feedback again. He doesn't remember that we had that entire show.
It's possible there's times we've missed one or two. I don't think I would read all the same ones.
Dude, they were all of them. I was just like cracking up. I was like, he was so high.
It's possible.
The
way we do it there is we round up the feedback and then we go through, and every time we read one, we delete it. So it's very possible if I forgot to delete something or a chunk of them because I was high on painkillers. Yeah, it's very possible.
I don't remember what you had done, but it was something.
Yeah, I don't know.
It may have been that costly penis implant you had.
Yeah, man. Penis unmicro surgery.
I thought you were going to say penis reduction surgery.
It just really hurts my back,
Not from natural girth, but I accidentally stuck my dick in cement when I was a child. There's a giant wrecking ball on the end of my dick.
It came in like a wrecking ball.
All my exes call me Miley.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. You know what? I think I did. I think I messed up. And never mind. It's fine. We don't have any more. Okay. Screw it.
Well,
we don't.
Dave, always a pleasure, my friend.
Man.
Always a pleasure.
That kind of pleasure, though, with your wrecking ball.
Nope, not that kind. Well, I guess we'll be back soon, guys, with more Star Trek stuff. So we got 3 weeks left. 3 weeks left of Picard, and then really soon start Strange New Worlds.
May 5th, man. We'll be doubling up again.
Ooh, dang.
Yeah.
That is going to be a rough. That is going to be a
Doctor
rough
Strange.
Week.
Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
That's going to be a rough week.
I'm assuming we'll have another Moon Knight, too, that week.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it might end the week before.
Really?
It's only 6 episodes.
Oh, okay.
Well, so, I mean, that means there's 3 more. So if we're doubling up on this, we're probably going to be, oh, gosh, we're going to have Moon Knight... Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, 2 Star Treks, and we're trying to finish the Orville before season 3 starts in June. So we've still got like 5 more Orvilles to record, and I have 12 Orvilles to edit. So, we got a lot of stuff coming.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Mm-hmm. All of it. Oh, and we're doing a Sam Raimi retrospective on Bingers Assemble to get ready for Doctor Strange.
That's on you.
I'm excited about it. I like Sam Raimi, but there's a few that I just never did catch. And Ashley's a big fan who's followed his work for years. So
yeah,
we're gonna go back and watch Evil Dead and like, what is it called? A Simple Plan. Is that,
I don't know.
Is that his anyway? It's like he has like such a diverse canon of movies.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's Evil Dead, but then there's like his more modern horror stuff. He has a few really Drag Me to Hell or whatever. I haven't seen any of those, so I'm excited about that. And then A Simple Plan is like a family drama. Oh, and there's The Quick and the Dead with his Western. So I'm excited about to revisit some of those and all that.
Have you seen the kerfuffle when they announced that Doctor Strange was going to be PG-13? People were like pissed. Because they're like, how dare they? It's supposed to be rated R. It's Sam Raimi, for God's sake. And then, like, like most of us were like, 1, it's Marvel, so what did you expect? 2, did you not see the other, like, the 3 Spider-Man movies he did? None of those were rated R. Like,
it's a Sam Raimi Marvel movie. Also,
I think Send Me to Hell was PG-13, wasn't it?
I don't know.
And it was freaky.
I don't think freaking like Army of Darkness was rated R, was it?
No, PG-13.
Yeah. Like, I don't know that how many of his movies have been rated R. That's weird. I mean, like, I get wanting it to be rated R because the content in it could be really interesting in rated R. I mean, it looks like Miss Wanda is going to go pretty ham on these guys.
Yeah. And it was funny to see like the division though, because there were all those people that I saw on Twitter, and then like there was another whole group of people on Twitter complaining because it was rated PG-13 for intense violence, and I was like, really? A Marvel movie's going to have intense scenes of violence? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I think this might be one of the more violent of the Marvel movies, especially the modern. I mean, maybe Blade, but like Blade was surely worse. But you know, we have I don't know, Wanda walking around covered in blood. Like, I don't know what that's about, but it looks pretty intense. Like, as much as Marvel has violence, obviously, in all the Infinity Saga, how many times did we really see blood like come out of people, especially that much? And she's like covered in blood walking around in the trailer, and I'm like, well, you know, it'll be gone when it gets to Disney Plus. Maybe.
Yeah, you've seen that?
Yeah, apparently they fixed it though. Apparently there was there was enough outcry.
Oh, really?
And people noticed that they were like, okay, we're putting it back. We're putting back the violence into fatwas.
Yeah. Like, well, God, they just need to, like... I thought they fixed that with all these, like, parental controls that they had on everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they set it up after they put the Defenders saga on.
Well, it's probably them trying to decide, like, if we can clean up these couple moments of violence, we don't have to keep it away from the kiddos, you know?
Yeah.
They want more people to be able to watch it, but, like, there's so many of us that love it the way it is and don't want...
Yeah.
I mean, I joked on the MCU cast, I was like... You know, I am worried, like, because they do clean things up before any of this actually happened. I was talking about it. I was like, I'm worried that when Daredevil goes on Disney Plus, there's just going to be a little less brains dripping from that car door, you know?
Absolutely.
You're just going to take
That's my go-to scene, too.
Yeah, for sure. It's like that or like Hamburger Face from that first Punisher episode.
Just the brains is like my second favorite thing on any of the Netflix shows, and my first favorite thing is Rosario Dawson being like tied up in that garage and just laughing maniacally when the lights go out.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Because she knows Daredevil's coming for these pieces of shit.
I need more Rosario Dawson in my life, just in general, but like also on TV.
We all do.
She's so good. I love her. And I'm really wanting to see more of her character. Like she kind of disappeared after like the first season. She was like in the first season of all the shows and then just kind of dipped out. I hope they bring her back.
Well, she kind of bounced around to here and there and then kind of showed up in like one or two scenes, but didn't really stick around too much.
Right.
But I guess she's busy. She's got shit to do.
Yeah. Like she was like kind of a main character in I think the first season of maybe all 4 of the Defender shows.
She was the Fury.
Yeah, kind of. Like, and I think that is what kind of happens. Isn't in Defenders, she's like, I have a friend. I guess, doesn't she connect them up or something? In Defenders?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then she, had to go do some Capital One commercials.
Did she?
No, but Nick Fury did. It was one of the funniest things, like, because he was like, Sam Jackson was quoted as being like kind of shitty about DC. They asked him like if he'd ever do a DC movie, and he's like, well, I only do movies where I like the script. And I'm like, yeah, those Capital One commercials aren't that good, Sam. Like, you talking to the guy with the action figure collection? Not your best work.
Yeah. Man. No. It's sometimes you got to get paid. Get that money. Get that money.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, Joel True, everybody.
Live long und prosper.
To Uber. Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.